Today on Mark's Game Room, we hear from Mark himself and what is behind his new World War II miniature air combat wargame, Fire in the Sky. Masses of B-17s, fighters, and all the air action you can ask for. What is this all about? And do we really need a new air wargame? Get the inside scoop on this edition of our new series of game designer interviews called Playmakers. Welcome back to Mark's Game Room as part of our new series, Playmaker, where we interview game designers about the games that they make and the games that they love.
Hey, I get to be the first guest in my own room.
Wow, yeah. I don't know. Do you know somebody who runs this place?
Yeah, I don't know, Carl. All right, well, thanks for having me, Carl. I really appreciate being here.
Yeah, no, well, I appreciate you having me have you. Yeah. So we're here to talk about Fire in the Sky,
yes.
Your new World War II air game.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, no, I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm excited to see the game come out. If you saw our video last week, we've got the big battles of the 8th Air Force over Germany. Awesome stuff. I guess the first question I have for you is, why make a World War II air game? There's plenty of those. Check Your Six. You helped make that one.
I mean, I would say there's plenty of them, but there are not plenty of them. I mean, there's kind of Check Your Six. I think Warlord tried to come out with a game.
Yeah, Blood Red Skies.
Blood Red Skies, but I don't really see anyone that I know playing it, or at our kind of U.S. conventions, no one's playing it. It's really just kind of Check Your Six. And I felt like Check Your Six does what it does really well, which is you want to get in a cockpit with your buddy as your wingman and fly a plane in the Battle of Britain. Like, you can definitely do that. But what you can't do in Check Your Six is have an entire German air wing come in to bomb London and get hit by several little squadrons of Spitfires. It would just take you forever. That's what this game allows you to do, right? You can put 30 B-17s on the table and play it quickly and have fun. You know?
So the massive scale was a big appealing factor.
Massive scale, right? So instead of just being a pilot, you're like a wing leader, something like that.
Right.
And it allows you to do a lot bigger games, right?
I mean, this isn't your first game design by any means. You've done a whole lot of games. I believe, like that game of Ur in ancient Sumeria that they found, the first game, you have some fingerprints on that. Right. But you've done... I'm so done, folks. Last appearance. But no, you've obviously done Fireball Forward, right? A classic game. Ruthless, Fire at Sea, and now this one. I mean, can you kind of talk about how your previous design experience maybe led to this, or what kind of lessons you've learned?
Yeah, so first of all, this game, all those games you just mentioned, I think this game I started before Ruthless, and I started before Fire at Sea. I didn't start it before Fireball Forward, but it actually goes back a long time. It's just taken a while for it to kind of come out, and Masters of the Air is really the reason we're kind of really putting it out, right? And it came about, we were in a trip, but we went to Normandy, for I think maybe for one of the anniversaries, and we were sitting in the chateau after a long day of touring battlefields. And a friend of mine said, hey, I got this great idea for Historicon, a big summer convention. He said, I want to do Midway. Every single plane that was there using Check Your Six.
Oh, okay. So for like the next 10 Historicons.
Right. And, I tried to talk him out and said, that's a little crazy, right? Because I was kind of in the group that was kind of developing Check Your Six. And when I play the game, I'm good with like 2 planes.
Right, yeah.
And you're talking, Japanese strikes, they hit Midway. They had like 120 planes. Right. You just can't do it. But he'd been really inspired by playing this double-blind carrier game at a convention. So this is really fun. I want to play it. But I said, Check Your Six is not the vehicle for that. I just put that in my mind that like, hey, there is no way to do that. There's no way to do what he wants to do, really.
Yeah.
And so then that was kind of why I thought about doing something like this. And then Jonathan Miller, who helped me write Fireball Forward, he had some ideas, and we started messing around with it.
Yeah. So in a way, you're really addressing like what has been I mean, Midway is a pretty important, well-known World War II battle, and it's like there's been a hole for those kind of games.
Right. I mean, you have board games, right, where it's the total opposite of Check Your Six, where you have like a number of points. Like I have, 10 points of Dauntlesses coming in. I'm being attacked by 5 points of zeros. You just roll on a table, and that's kind of it. So it's like totally opposite end, like super, super abstract. That's almost nothing.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that this is more in the middle.
A lot of times in the club, we have these conversations where we talk about like what a game's thesis is, what its theory, what it's trying to say. The author, every game, even if it's about 10 games about the same subject, they all have a different kind of core thesis that they're trying to say. What's Fire in the Sky's thesis?
Fire in the Sky's thesis is when you read a lot of memoirs or read about actual air combat in World War II, this extended dogfight, right, was rare, and dogfights were over in 30 seconds, something like that. At some point I was like, what are we doing when we're going to play an air game and we're going to play 4 hours or 3 hours to model 30 seconds? Right? And there's a lot of fun with that, and those are great games. But like a lot of the battles were quick. And I said, what if a game just allowed that to be the game? And so that allows you to do bigger games, and they're quicker. So if you have a giant formation of Heinkel 111s coming over London, and it was hit by, say, 4 squadrons of Hurricanes over time, like you can do it. Because they come in, they bounce, they shoot, and they're kind of gone. Right?
Yeah, in a lot of games, that first pass would be your game, right? It would be 2 hours just to play that out.
Right.
But not the case in Fire in the Sky.
Right. And so really what you're deciding is when to commit your squadrons, right? How are you going to maneuver towards the bombers or get your bombers towards the ships, like when we do like a Midway game, right? And what your fighters are going to do. Who's going to be high? Who's going to go where? And it's really kind of more grand tactical. Like in a dogfight is, you come together and then it's a quick resolution to see what happens, and it's kind of important like what happens after the dogfight. Because after a dogfight, planes tend to be scattered, they would lose altitude, they'd be all over the place. So it's really kind of what happens after that.
Yeah, I mean, there is that really great tactical feel, though, in this game where, like, you do kind of feel like you're commanding these big squadrons. Like, whenever Cliff's always like, all right, Red Leader, we're going off to get him, and sending people around and that kind of thing there. And you're not so much worried about, like, turning radiuses or, like, how we're going to get behind somebody.
I mean, those are all in there in a way.
Yeah.
Right? But they're just more abstracted a little bit. We're not comparing so closely. You might just have a slight advantage over that plane as opposed to measuring the advantage very detailed.
Yeah, the historical flavor comes out in a lot of the special rules you came up with for the game. I was kind of part of some of the playtesting of this in the later stages, and I was kind of wondering, like, what were some of the growing pains? What were some of the design challenges? Because even in the short time that I was part of the playtesting, the game changed a lot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, can you give us a sense of, like, what kind of things you came up with or dropped or...
Yeah. So when you're doing a game like this, right, and you're kind of abstracting, right, I always feel like you have to abstract the correct things at the right level. Like, I've played many, many games where they start abstracting, but then the game designer can't help not abstract something really important. So, like, you might play a game where you're Napoleon and you're making big moves, but he still wants you to worry about skirmishers. I don't think Napoleon really worried about skirmishers at the Battle of Waterloo. Other people did it, right? So part of it was that, like, how do I keep everything appropriate when you're abstracting at that level? Right? Because there are things people do want to see. They want to see aces.
Right.
Right? So it's like, how does that kind of work in a game like this, where it's not individual planes? So we kind of worked that out. The biggest thing I think that was a challenge was all of these planes should be moving simultaneously in space. But this is a game with cool miniatures that we love to paint and we love to look at, right? And you have to make a concession to that. We can't have them all moving simultaneously in space. If we did, the game would probably just too chaotic, right? And so it was how do you somehow allude to that, and that's where we came up with the interception or reaction role.
Right, which is kind of like the core mechanic of the game, right?
Right. Because if you're, trying to get at bombers and there's someone flying top cover, there has to be a mechanism where the top cover can try to, intercept or stop someone's move, right? Mm-hmm. And so that took a little bit of working out, but we feel like we have it. And like Carl said, it's really kind of a core thing in the game.
Yeah. It's really awesome when, out of the sun comes down, some a wing of German fighters to intercept you or whatever. Yeah, it definitely has that feel. Would you describe the game as cinematic? I think it is to a certain degree.
I think it's pretty cinematic because is that someone actually in one of our reviews said that games that are decisive are really fun.
Yeah.
And I decided that this game was going to be very decisive, right? Because that's what would happen. We saw them, we bounced them, we shot a bunch down, and that was it, right? And so that's what I wanted it to be.
Yeah, and it is quick playing. I think Alex's son once beat me in this game in like 15 minutes. So see if you can beat that record, people. There's definitely...
Let's just speak to that one thing, right? He mentioned the game Ruthless that I wrote that a lot of people out there love, and thank you so much for playing Ruthless. We have a great time with it. But Ruthless was actually influenced by my development of this game, because this game came before Ruthless.
Right. Cowboys and planes. It's identical, right?
Well, but if you read about actual Western gunfights, they were over very quickly, right? It was like someone was walking down the street, some guy came up to him, they pulled out some guns, he was dead. That was it. Again, it wasn't like a 6-hour, let's play Stalingrad in Tombstone, Arizona, where we're fighting house to house with dynamite. It wasn't that. And so the idea with Ruthless was you get together with your friends and you might play 3 quick gunfights in an evening, right? It's the same thing with this game, that you might do 3 different bomber missions in an evening or 3 attacks on an aircraft carrier or something, so that you're not just playing one battle.
Yeah, I mean, campaign play is one of those things that everybody imagines, but this is like one of those games where I felt like you can actually legitimately complete a campaign of this in a reasonable amount of time.
Because I really feel like that's the nature of this. Is like, yes, you want to sit down with your buddy and play a short game, you can, but you can really do a campaign easily, and that's really what you should do for an evening, right? So in the book I wrote, there's 2 styles. One is I wrote a series of 5 scenarios about Big Week, which was February 1944, when the 8th Air Force really went after the Luftwaffe. And even though it was Big Week, there was really only 5 days where there was a lot of action. So there's 1 scenario for each day. Each scenario, we found something different.
Yeah.
And Carl wrote 2 of them, so... there you go.
It's work for hire. It's really.
Anyways, so you can play those, and you just link them. You just accumulate victory points after each scenario, and by the end, whoever has the most wins, right? But you can see like who's kind of winning the campaign on victory points. The other one I did is called The Target for Today. And that's, the great line when all the pilots would come into the briefing and they would say, gentlemen, the target for today is. And that one is like a scenario generator.
Yeah, potentially unlimited replayability.
Right, unlimited replayability. It's all kinds of planes. You are just kind of going after B-17s, but you can be going to the mission, coming back from the mission. There's like intense flak, not so intense flak. Are you going deep into Germany, shallow into Germany? What kind of escorts do you have? Do the Germans have rockets? Are there aces there? And the interesting thing about that is the Germans are tracking one thing. They're tracking the amount of damage that's being done to them in terms of bombing and shot down Luftwaffe planes and pilots.
Which was the goal of Operation Argument, right? Eliminate the Luftwaffe.
But the Allies don't necessarily know how much damage they're doing. They have a sense, but they don't know exactly. And the Allies, or the USAAF, is tracking the morale of the 8th Air Force. Like, how are the crews getting shot up? How is it affecting them? And the Germans, again, don't know exactly what their numbers are. So each side has kind of a feeling of what they're doing to the enemy, but they don't know, right? Because every time the B-17 formation bombs something in Germany, they were like, oh, we crushed it. And then, after the war, they found out, well, one bomb landed within 1,000 yards.
Right.
Right. So I don't really know. And then at the end, there's a kind of a comparison. You look on a chart and it says kind of who won. So, and that's, you play 5 scenarios. You want to play more, you can, but it's like 5 scenarios.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I was really struck by how that scenario took the game, or that campaign generator took the game from, a cool thing, you play the scenarios and then you're done, to now like, oh, I'm going to get all kinds of planes so we can play out the whole air war, basically.
That should be cool. And I heard that you're going to be running Midway.
Yeah, at Historicon this year, I'm planning on doing this. So living up to Mike's, your friend's dream of doing Midway in one thing. Speaking of Midway and maybe other theaters, the book that's coming out is just for Big Week, right? It's just for the Eighth Air Force over Germany. So my question is, are we just going to leave the game in the gutter and neglect it, or is there going to be more to this thing? Are we going to get, when can we expect, I don't know, Flying Tigers, Battle of Britain, Midway, right? Well, all kinds of different theaters to the war. Is there more content planned?
There's definitely more content planned. There's some of it's already play tested. It also it connects to Fire at Sea, which is my naval game, and I know that a lot of you out there have played it and are asking for more on that. And we are coming out with more on that. We've done a lot of work on the Pacific, but that game, Fire at Sea, just kind of came out almost by accident out of COVID.
Right, because it was on a grid and you could play it online.
Right, and this I'd been kind of working on for a while, which is why Fire at Sea, I haven't come out with the follow-ups yet, but we will. We have a Pacific. We'll probably do like a Java Sea campaign maybe on the channel, and Midway, Guadalcanal, and you can kind of connect them. We awesome. Did a Guadalcanal campaign kind of over Discord through the end of COVID, and that's what we did. We fought the air battles with Fire in the Sky and the naval battles with Fire at Sea. It was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so we have the Pacific is coming. I wrote actually a short mini campaign for the defense of Singapore.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's like, Spitfire, Hurricanes versus Zeros, and all these weird wildebeest bombers going after stuff, which is really cool. So those are definitely in the works, and I'm a big fan of the Pacific, War. So that'll be coming out. And Battle of Britain. Yeah, that's my favorite. Some of you out there might have played my Battle of Britain Canal Comp scenarios at the convention. So if you did, I hope you enjoyed it, and we got more of that coming. I know Carl's a big Battle of Britain fan.
Yeah,
so that's coming out too.
It's like Spitfire underwear. That's for the different part of the channel. Yeah. That's really exciting. It sounds like we have so much coming, so much planned. It really sounds like this game is a labor of love for you, and it sounds like people are going to really be excited to get their hands on it. Are we going to have some content coming up for them to how they can create their own Fire in the Sky stuff at home and set up the game for themselves? Yeah, so we've got videos about how to make these flight stands. You can't really see them here, but how to make these flight stands. And there's a lot of different ways, and I know that everyone out there is super creative. So we'll probably make these, and you guys will come up with better ideas for sure. But we got that, how to paint these cool planes. We're going to have, hopefully, and I'm going to really try to do a short little documentary about the Memphis Belle, which is kind of cool. I got some really interesting stuff about how they filmed it during World War II. And then we're going to do a couple more air battles, or at least one more. Nice. At the end. And I might invite a member of a different club to come take on someone here one-on-one. Right. Well, they can't do any worse than Miles in our video that came out last week. I took him right down. Don't worry. Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Mark. This was awesome. It was great getting you in on the initial installment of Playmaker. And, we're excited to see the game, and thanks for making it, and hopefully soon we'll hear from some more designers in future installments of this. Thanks for having me in the game room. Yeah. I appreciate it. It's really awesome. You can have your game room back now. All right. All right, guys. If you're watching out there, thanks so much for your support. We really appreciate everything. This game is going to be out, and really try it. And in the comments, let us know what you like about it, and definitely let us know what theaters you would want to see with Fire in the Sky.
So hit that like button. It really helps us. I'm going to say right now we're really aiming toward trying to get to a Patreon. And if we do, then you guys can write scenarios with us. That would be really great. All right, see you next time.